Well, hey everyone, welcome to the Daily Devo. My name is James. If I haven't met you before, I want to say hello through the screen. So glad you're joining me today. We're going to jump right into it. We're looking at Matthew 28:19 through 20. This is something that we call the Great Commission. It says, "Therefore, go and make disciples of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I've commanded you, and surely I'm with you always to the very end of the age." And if you're wondering who is talking here, who is commissioning, it is Jesus. And we are being encouraged in this passage to share the gospel, the good news of great joy to all people, to not just our communities, not just our state or our nation, but to all nations everywhere, to anyone who can hear. We have been commissioned to share the good news. What's exciting about that is at the end of the passage, Jesus says, "And I am surely with you always to the very end of the age." And so I'm asking you to do this, but I want you to know you're not doing it by yourself. I'm there with you. I'm there with you. You're not alone. All the way to the very end of the age. So my question for us today is, what would it look like if we shared the gospel with someone we've never shared the gospel with before? How would their life be impacted? How would the relationships that they have be impacted? How would their family be impacted? And maybe even their family lineage, how would it be impacted? Maybe it'll go from folks that don't know Jesus to generations of people that follow Jesus. And all it took was you sharing the gospel and them saying yes. Wow, what an impact that could make. Now, one of my favorite stories of sharing the gospel was a couple years ago. I went on a missions trip to Mexico, and we set up an event in the town where we were going to have about 1,000 people from the community that didn't know Jesus. And I was commissioned to share the gospel with them from stage. And so we were expecting about 1,000 people. We weren't sure what would happen. We set up the stage, we played some music, and over 1,000 people showed up that were from the community, not from the church that was there. And I got on stage and I got to clearly share the gospel, the good news of great joy to all people. And we had hundreds of people that said yes to Jesus for the very first time. They began to come to the stage and pray in front of the stage with all the amazing volunteers that we had there. And it was really awesome to see the Holy Spirit move on that special day. And I can't explain to you the joy that I had in my heart. And it'll be something that I'll cherish for the rest of my life in that moment. To see God do such a great work in the lives of those people. And I did a little follow-up about a year later and found out that many of those people that had said yes to Jesus were now committed and serving in the local church in that city. And so God had changed their lives and began to do a work in them. And you see, that's the amazing thing about the gospel, is that it changes people. They go from walking down a path of darkness to walking a path of light. It changes people. And I don't know about you, but I know that God is into people changing business. And I love being a part of that. And you can be a part of that too. And one way that you can do that is what we're talking about today, is to share the gospel. But if that kind of freaks you out a little bit, you said, I would never do that, or that doesn't just match what my personality is, or what you're saying right now really freaks me out. Let me take it down this direction. Here at our church, we say something like this: you never know what God might do through a simple invitation. So could you grab an invitation and invite someone to a Sunday service or a Saturday service or a special event that your church might be having? Could you give them an invite card, and maybe they'll show up for the very first time and they'll hear the good news of great joy to all people, and they'll say yes to Jesus? You see, that's something that you could do tomorrow. And as I said before, I can express the joy that you'll feel when you know that you had a big part in someone saying yes to Jesus and their life being changed. And then a couple years later, you look at them and say, wow, I can't believe what God did and is doing in their life. And you got to be a part of that. It's a really big deal. So again, ask the question, what would it look like if you shared the gospel with someone you've never shared the gospel with before? Remember this part, it's really important. He says, and surely I'm with you always to the very end of the age. If you've said yes to Jesus, the Holy Spirit lives inside of you. You're not doing this thing alone. Would you be bold? Would you be courageous to let God work in a special way in someone else's life, but this will change you as well? Hey, I hope this was an encouragement to you. Would you like this? Share it if it was impactful. And if you haven't subscribed to the Daily Devo, would you do that right now? Hope you have a great day, and we'll see you soon.